Bitcoin is close to becoming worthless.
Let's go. Now, what's the Bitcoin?
Bitcoin's like rat poison.
Yeah. Oh,
The greatest scam in history.
let's get it.
Bitcoin will go to fucking zero.
Yeah.
Alright, you ungovernable misfits. I'm your host, Max. Everybody knows that Bitcoin is useless, worthless, and doomed to fail. But what if everyone's wrong? What if it's the system that is doomed to fail? Join me as I speak to some of the brightest people in the space and slither to the deepest, darkest depths of the Bitcoin rabbit hole. Welcome back. It's another episode of Bitcoin Monthly. Bitcoin Q&A, Antomous and I discuss some of the recent news in Bitcoin. I won't go through the whole list now because we're about to get into it. I've got to be up in a few hours, so I'll make this quick. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's been sharing the show with friends and family, sending sats in via podcasting 2.0 apps, and sending in questions. I really do appreciate the support, and I also appreciate the support of my sponsors. So please, I'll be quick on this one, but do me a favour and have a listen. First up, not technically a sponsor, but they have given me a very nice shill code that gives you money off and me some sats back to help support the show. This is not from some shitty shilly company like most other podcasters are using. This is from the beautifully designed and fucking amazing Ronin Dojo. Yes, that is right. You can go and get a Ronin Dojo Tanto, get some sats off, protect your privacy, support proper builders using open source code, and you can help support the show. If you're listening and you're thinking, I don't know what this Ronin Dojo thing's about, well, firstly, you need to sort your fucking life out. And secondly, you can go and listen to the many, many podcasts I have recorded with Zelko and the rest of the team. The shill code is ungovernable and the link is in the show notes. Any questions at all, you can reach out to me. Next up is Foundation Devices. If you haven't already seen the passport, I suggest you go and have a look at foundationdevices.com. The design is absolutely beautiful. And not only this, it's piss easy to use, it's fully open source, they have the best team out there. Bitcoin Q&A is working with them all the time, trying to push privacy-preserving features and make this cypherpunk tool accessible to fuckwits like me. They've also just dropped the price to $199. And again, if anyone has any questions, you can reach out. You'll probably see a theme here. Open source. It matters. Stop fucking around with companies that don't care about you or Bitcoin or open source. It's bullshit. Use a proper signing device. Foundationdevices.com. Right, final one. I'm going to do this one quickly because I'm running out of energy here. SX6.store. They make still backup plates. You need to buy still backup plates. They're some of the most reasonably priced still backup plates in the world. Go to sx6.store, buy them, stamp your seeds on them, and be confident if there's a fire or a flood, you still have your sats. sx6.store. Tell them I sent you. Enjoy the show. We were just slacking you off there, and then I realised you're in the same chat.
I would expect nothing less, guys. Keep up the good work.
That gay little robot bloke, always running late.
Oof.
What'd you do with your time? Always late. 3 minutes. Can't believe it.
These coffees don't make themselves. I don't have a butler, unfortunately. Not yet, at least.
I'll lend you my spare.
There we go. It's not Botty, is it?
No, fuck that guy. I hate that little prick. He thinks he's all tough.
It was good to see you in Riga, man.
It was absolute pleasure. 1 year removed from last time.
Yeah, indeed. How was your Riga experience?
Oh man, it was very different from last year, but it was actually pretty cool. Like last year, I mean, we had the booth with SeedSigner, and so it was just like full on behind the booth and just chatting with people, and there was like huge crowd there. So I didn't get to see anything or like hardly get to meet up with other people apart from at the stand. But this year it was pretty cool. It was a lot more relaxed, the feeling. And I mean, we had the workshops for SeedSigner and Seed Hammer on the Saturday, which was cool. But otherwise, it just got to go around, meet up with people, just chat and hang out. And it was a lot more social and less business than last time.
Mine was kind of reversed, basically. So mine was a lot more social last year, and this year was a lot more business. It was a lot quieter than I was expecting. Still had a great time. The footfall going past our booth on the ground floor was significantly less than I thought it was going to be. I think the bear market vibes were, you could see that in the amount of people that were in attendance, but still had a thoroughly great time. Did not see a single talk because I was busy manning the booth with the rest of the guys. I actually gave my own talk as well, which I think went really well about no shock, Bitcoin privacy. I got some great feedback on there, so it was good to get up there and talk about stuff like that. And Mac should be pleased to know there were no scooter incidents this year either.
Oof.
I'm not necessarily pleased to know that. I thought that was quite funny. Only because I knew who it happened to. That's why it was funny. I was just
going to say, yeah, and he was not in attendance this year, so shout out to that guy. You were sorely missed.
So one was off the leash, Antomous, and one was on the leash, Q&A, all business.
I didn't see Antomous without a can of beer in his hand the whole weekend.
Really?
Yeah, just staggering about the place. I also taught him how to play pool as well.
Ooh, that was competitive, man.
I have a feeling you'd be a bit of a hustler. That's what I get from you, Q&A. Like, oh yeah, I've played it a couple of times. And then actually you're really skilled and you just end up taking sats off people. Is that basically how it went?
So what I infer, what you really mean is that you think that I probably spend a lot more time than I should do in a pub?
No, more that you're dishonest. Or a mixture of the two.
To your final point about me being a hustler and a bit of a pool shark, absolutely not. It was me versus Antomous and his friend. I don't know whether I can mention his name, so I'll leave that down to Antomous. And it was 2-on-1, and it was the longest game of pool in the whole of eternity. And we were all absolutely shocking, but I managed to just about scrape a win.
Congrats.
Yeah, that was the first evening. We had a rematch planned, but someone didn't show up.
I was in one of these. So in Riga, a lot of the bars are like underground in like these like crypts, I suppose you'd call them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in there with a couple of other guys, and then I came out after about an hour to like 17 different messages from Antomous and his friend, challenging me to a rematch. Clearly, I didn't get them all, and then it was inferred that I was too scared to turn up to the pool hall again.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah, that's the story, and I'm sticking with it.
So Riga, is it still up there, like top for both of you? I've still never been, but...
Yeah, absolutely. Still had a really great time, despite it being a little bit quieter. The guys from Huddle put on a great, not a show, is it? They've thought about everything.
Event.
Great events. They thought about everything. It was really fun being able to pay for pretty much everything in Bitcoin, with the exception of like beers in bars that are not associated with the conference itself. But really great. Great to meet some of the usual faces and to meet some new ones. And shout out to all the people that came down and stopped by the booth to say hi to me and to get the rest of the team from Foundation as well.
Was your talk recorded in any way, or...?
Yeah, audio only. So I was on the cypherpunk stage, which is strictly no camera policy as soon as you walk through the door. All of the doors were literally covered up. You had to go in to see what was going on. You couldn't just peer through the windows or anything like that. So another great shout out to the Huddle guys, the way they set that up. And the window coverings were literally saying, don't use your phone or your camera in here. Like this is strictly, do not record. So
I like it.
Each one was optionally audio recorded, obviously, which, everybody knows what my voice sounds like. So yeah, there should be an audio recording floating around somewhere once the guys from Huddle have had a rest and get a chance to do all the editing and whatnot.
Excellent. I look forward to listening to that. So we got a long list today. just browsing through it. But before we get into the meat of it and the smart stuff, can I throw you an ATIQ stupid question?
Only after you tell me what ATIQ means. Oh, ATIQ. I thought that was an abbreviation.
There
You
we
thought
go.
that was something technical.
Jesus Christ.
You're like, is that a spec I've missed?
ATIQ. Yeah, ATIQ. Okay, yeah, hit me with it.
So this is from probably the most ATIQ of everyone I've ever met. This is from Ben Gunn. And he is asking me to ask you two, is PrivNote any good? Is there anything that he should worry about because he can't be fucked with PGP and messing around with all the stuff that you guys might want to do? He just says, does it work? Is it shit?
So when you sent it into the chat yesterday, it was the first time I've ever heard of it. So it's going to be difficult for me to give like an educated thing. I'm literally, as we're talking, I'm poking around with it now. So for people that have never heard of it, it looks like this is kind of basically just a website where you can type a note and then you can set like a self-destruct timer. Presumably it's end-to-end encrypted, and only the person with the specific URL that gets generated will be able to read the note. And then after a certain amount of time, it could be a single read or it could be like a week or a month, whatever, however you predefine it, then it'll self-destruct and it will no longer be readable.
Accessible.
And you can also set a custom password as well for it. So in terms of the specifics of this, I don't see a link to a GitHub, so I don't know whether it's open source or not. So that would be the first kind of flag to me. That's not to say that there isn't one, but generally speaking, yeah, if you want to just send, let's say maybe send yourself a Bitcoin address to get from a laptop to a computer or something like that, or to send an address to a friend so they want to send you some stuff, then maybe this sort of stuff is fine. I would be hesitant to recommend this until I could see the source code. Not that I can verify it because I'm a fucking idiot, but at least, if it's open source, the whole thing with open source is that, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I'm struggling to find a GitHub repo.
Yeah, I'm just having a look too, and I can't find anything.
I do actually host my own version of this called Private Bin.
Of course you do.
If anybody wants to test it out, it's just at bin.bitcoiner.guide. Works on exactly the same premises the way I've just described PrivNote, the one we're talking about. I know that Private Bin is definitely open source, so
there we are.
These can be useful, but in terms of PrivNote, like just check whether it's open source or not first.
Well, so there's no need. If you've got your own open source one, then there's your answer, Ben. Go and use that.
Yeah, use mine.
The reason I asked as well was because I've seen 2 or 3 times other people in this space use it with me, sending me stuff. So I was like, maybe it's good, but okay, use the open source one is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, it does depend on like what you want to get out of it. So if like there's better options, like say if you want to send yourself something, like I say, a Bitcoin address from desktop to laptop, like there's better ways to do that. You can achieve that with an application called KDE Connect, which like uses your own Wi-Fi network to basically be able to communicate from, say, a Google Pixel tablet to your Linux desktop or something like that. And as soon as it all happens automatically, so as soon as you copy something on your laptop, you can choose to send that over your own local Wi-Fi network to whichever other devices you've got KDE installed. Obviously, that completely cuts out the rest of the whole internet, encryption or not. But if you wanted to send stuff to somebody else, like from me to you, Max, then again, it depends what you're trying to send, I guess. If it's just a quick note, maybe these are fine. But there's other great tools like Simplex Chat, which is like quickly becoming one of the gold standards in kind of end-to-end encrypted peer-to-peer chats. So yeah, it ultimately just comes back to what it is you're trying to send. If it's, horses for courses.
Okay. Any thoughts, Antomous?
I've had a few people mention PrivNote to me as well, or asking to send stuff via that. And it's basically just echoing what Q just said. Open source, that's definitely a red flag, or that it's not open source. Even if it were, obviously this is a hosted service, so you're never quite sure what's running there anyway. So if you can host something yourself, or someone who's hosting a solution, it's always the better way to go. There's been an update, I think it's a while back already, from Bitwarden as well. They have like these notes section as well for sending yourself stuff, or just store, like for I use that for sending like Bitcoin addresses or something from one device to the other, or just storing it for a while. That's quite cool. If you're using Bitwarden anyway, then that's a quite good solution. But I'd
Okay.
just stay with the same recommendation as Q. That be wary of this because it's not very transparent. We had this pretty fun incident a while back. I don't actually know exactly, probably 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Not quite sure exactly when it was, but this was quite a scene on Twitter and probably Nostr too. That there was someone who pretty egregiously fat-fingered a fee on a transaction. That was quite fun to see people racing around, checking, trying to find out who this was. And the miner that mined it, I'm not 100% sure who that was. F2 pool it was. They even came out to say they'd return it if someone could provide proof. Quite a journey, that whole ride. But I don't know if one of you got the exact chronology, because I'll probably mess that up.
I can tell you a few things because we covered it on our latest Pleb Miner Monthly. First, he said he was going to give it back, the F2 pool guy. He said, I'm going to give it back. And then he got annoyed that they didn't understand the time zone that he was in. So he got all stressed about that and then put a poll up basically saying, shall I return it, give it to the miners, or shall I freeze it? I think were the three options. And give it to miners was what won on the poll. But then like a little bitch, he gave it back anyway. So the miners didn't get it.
Okay, I didn't actually get that resolution.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, because I saw the poll, but I thought that it would just go that way. Okay.
Yeah, so for a bit of context for people who aren't sure exactly what we're talking about or how terrible this FatFinger was, the transaction in question was on the 10th of September, and it paid a fee of 1,982,108,632 sats, or essentially 20 Bitcoin.
Or £500,000.
Yeah, I was going to say, which at the time had a USD value of $510,000. And the fee rate was 8,182,079 sats per byte. so they overpaid by, according to mempool.space, by 481,299x.
That's a serious tip.
That is not just the tip, is it? So yeah, it later transpired that the people in question who did this FatFinger were Paxos. They overpaid the network fee, and I believe they were doing it on behalf of PayPal. So PayPal do some form of Bitcoin stuff. I'm sure it's a cooked version.
It is.
And then Paxos is like the back end for them, who does all the Bitcoin operations for them. And it was Paxos that were the culprits. But yeah, like you said, Max, they've since given it back. I don't know if there's any details on exactly what went wrong, but my guess is that they're doing some form of manual shit somewhere along the line and somebody's not been paying attention. But if my assumption is correct that they are doing manual stuff, like, why? Paxos has been around for a long, long time. Surely they should be able to automate this shit by now.
Probably some smart ass who just thinks that they can do things better than the normal standards, and they can't.
Yeah.
A bit like we saw with Luke Dash Jr.
Yeah.
A bit
possibly.
of arrogance, like, I'm smarter than everyone, so I'm going to do it a different way, and then it all goes wrong for you very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just making assumptions here. It could well be a software bug. They could have it all automated. Who knows? But for it to happen just as a single one-off just is a little bit strange to me. Like, yeah. But they got the fees back. I share your thoughts, Max, around whether they should or shouldn't have in the end. Would have been a bit of a Chad move to keep it, especially as soon as I heard that it was PayPal, I was like, this is absolutely beautiful. Like, fuck those guys.
Yeah, it would have been nice, a little break for some of the miners as well.
Mm-hmm.
And did you see how boring his fucking tweet was? I couldn't get over that.
Oh, I heard you talking about this on the Pleb Miner Monthly.
Oh my God.
Go on, give us the TLDR.
I can't remember it exactly now. John was reading it to me. It was so fucking autistic. It was like today is my 853rd flight of the year. I'm on a Boeing 8429. Serial number is da 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 da. I'll be arriving at this time. And it like just went on and on with all these fucking numbers that was totally irrelevant. And then basically was like, oh, and I'm not actually going to give them money back. And you're just like, you fucking weirdo. Why did we need to know all of that information about your travels? You fucking idiot.
Nice. And this was the head of F2 Pool.
I don't know if he's the head, but he's, you know.
The face of.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Am I right in saying that this was the biggest fee paid in the whole history of Bitcoin? I mean, it's got to be, surely.
It is the biggest fee in...
Total sats?
In fiat terms, I believe, yeah.
Right.
There was another one that we read off again in that show that was some enormous fucking number. I can't remember what it was.
So
26,000 or something.
Would that be like a bigger sat per byte maybe? But at the time, Bitcoin was probably worth about 10p.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Right,
Yeah,
I'm with you. Yeah.
Right, but cool. in sat terms, there has been a bigger one. And it was quite a lot bigger. It was like not 20 Bitcoin. It was like 2,600, I think, I want to say.
Oof. That must have been
Something
worth about
like
50 quid at the time.
Yeah. Oh, well.
Yeah, so next on the list, we've got Nunchuk Byzantine. How do you pronounce
Byzantine?
that? Byzantine?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Byzantine. All right, okay. Yeah, so this is from Nunchuck, a new like model that they've come out with. Like, is a while back. I think we covered this in the last one or previous to last Bitcoin Monthly, that they've now got this like collaborative custody model. So you can get like different packages where they hold one of your keys for you, a bit like Unchained Capital or Casa. And now they've come up with a new product, and this is a collaborative custody as like platform as a service. So if you are like an advisor, or if you're a company that wants to do collaborative custody, you can use Nunchuck for your clients, basically. So they can get you can set this up with your clients and hold one of their keys for them. That's like the high level that I took here. But yeah,
this is very, very cool. Like, I've got big respect for the way that the Nunchuk guys operate. Like, all of their features and sort of solutions like this always seem really well thought out. They've done a lot of great work around multi-sig and collaborative custody, and even like social stuff where you can have like multi-sig with your friends and stuff. They make that very, very easy. I've got a couple of open questions here. Not that I'm asking you guys to kind of answer it, just kind of, I guess maybe if anybody knows the answers, but like, if I was to set this up as an advisor, how do I charge my clients? And does Nunchuk then take a fee? And presumably Nunchuk wants to get something out of this. There doesn't seem to be anything that explains how that side of things works yet. I mean, admittedly, this is only like a week or two old, and it's only kind of restricted access at the moment, but those would be some of the questions that I'd be interested in learning the answers to. But nonetheless, this is a very cool solution, and to be able to have, you know, if you wanted to spin up your own collaborative custody business, then you've got like a turnkey solution now. But yeah, we'd be keen to learn some more information about it, as I'm sure that'll come out in the coming weeks and months. But yeah, shout out to the Nunchuk guys. This is a very cool solution for people to look at.
Pretty cool. Also, that I in Riga, I had a conversation with a couple of guys about like collaborative custody, especially for advisors. And they were saying also that in quite a lot of countries, it is possible to hold keys for your clients, but not to have the XPub or like just to have access to the funds, or like visible access to the funds, because that would basically give you the responsibility that if you see any kind of criminal activity on that account, that you would be liable for that, for not reporting that. But here, I don't know if that would be possible as well, to kind of just hold the key but not have access to actually seeing the movement of the funds. But I think there are quite a lot of advisors that do offer that at the moment, to hold a key for their clients. So I think this could be a game changer. And to have someone providing this software that you can go to for additional features, bug fixes, and someone who just oversees that whole portion, I think is a huge benefit for them.
Yeah, definitely. One of the main reasons that I've always kind of refrained from heavily advising these collaborative custody services is exactly like you say, the custodian of the third key. So, could be Casa, could be Unchained, could be, whoever the advisor is in this Nunchuk model. They keeping a key. They also have obviously the wallet descriptor file, which basically gives them view access into the whole wallet, so they can see all of your UTXOs, all of your transactions, etc. Which, if you're not bothered about privacy, is absolutely fine, and it makes this whole model very, very simple, so that the collaborative custodian can help you out when the shit hits the fan. But yeah, there are many different ways that you can approach being a third party with a key that doesn't have access, and I think that's going to be the next big iteration of this. There's a couple of fringe projects out there that do start to address this, but I think that the next big wave of this type of thing, which will unlock the door for me to be able to recommend this type of stuff more frequently, is the private option, where you're just holding a key, and via whatever method, be that Taproot, be that Miniscript, be that something else, you're kind of in the dark basically. That's not only good from a privacy perspective, it's also good from a regulation perspective. So if I'm the third party, if I don't know shit, I can't be subpoenaed, or can't have a strongly worded government letter saying, tell me all about this person's GTXO, because you literally don't know. And companies that are looking to do this should architect their solution. It's just going to save you a lot of headache in the future. And I certainly, if I was going to do this, that's definitely the way that I would do it. And the final benefit is that the third party, the advisor, or whatever you want to call them, can't denial of service you as the user. Well, technically they still could, but they can't based on specific transactions because they don't know about them. So, if you find yourself on a government watch list and the government says, if you're involved with this transaction and you are helping a person spend that UTXO, you can't do it. You're breaking the law if you do that. But if you don't know that and you're not part of that transaction, you're just a key holder, then that removes that threat model as well. So lots of promising implementations coming out. So definitely a part of the market to keep your eye on.
One other surprising news was that Fortress was acquired by Ripple.
Has that gone through?
Yep.
Yeah.
It has, yep.
Quality.
Announced on the 8th of September. Yeah, so this Fortress is a trust, holds Bitcoin for multiple companies that holds their Bitcoin. And I think even Swan Bitcoin is with them, has their funds with them. And Ripple, the company, acquired the entire company. So this was definitely a big move. It wasn't public exactly how much they paid, but somewhere up to 250 million. And with this move, they gained a whole bunch of different regulatory licenses for operating in the US. So the Bit license from New York was in there, and a whole bunch of other licenses. So this was definitely a big step for them. But and I think even Swan already came out with a statement saying that they'll be looking to move. For the time being, they're still there at the moment. But yeah, that's how it goes, right?
Yeah, I think Swan might have already moved. I'm just trying to verify that now. I'm pretty sure I saw a tweet from Corey to say that, did they move to BitGo or something like that? Pretty sure there was some quick action.
Okay. Near term, no change. Fortress Trust will be run as autonomous unit. Midterm, we'll have some news out very soon. So maybe that announcement has been made and I missed it. Also cool was you say, DM me with a screenshot showing you sold your XRP and I'll give you a year of Swan Premium for free. There we go.
Have you sold yours, or you hodling that?
No, fuck no. Swan Premium, I'm not selling for that.
Yeah, it looks like they have. I just found a tweet from a Swan account saying Swan client coins are insured in cold wallets at BitGo and did not move during the reported incident at Fortress. So I think they're with BitGo now. Oh no, Swan set up this agreement with Fortress to use BitGo as cold storage. So it kind of looks like they've got exposure to both, I think. Yeah, seems a bit messy.
Isn't it sort of whatever they do, they're just jumping in bed with someone else who's in charge of their client's sats? Is it not a better option just to say there is no option other than you to take it into cold storage? We just cut all this shit out, or am I missing a piece?
What, and you mean that so you can't have Bitcoin in your account, so to speak?
Yeah, so like you'd say, I want to buy £100 worth of Bitcoin, $100, whatever. You go on there, and then the only option is for you to give your, either they have an XPub or you put an individual address in, or they do Paynyms or whatever they have. You send them the fiat and they send you the Bitcoin, and there is no custody, so that you cut out all this concern and all this shit and you do things the proper way. Would this not resolve all of these problems?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's like the model that like Relay and like Pocket Bitcoin and stuff. They've got that kind of model where they don't hold any customer fines at any point. So you just like pay the money in, and then as soon as the money arrives, you get paid out your Bitcoin. That's obviously the ideal solution. And I mean, we all here are proponents of self custody. But I think especially for larger holders, for people who are not too deep into the whole Bitcoin scene, but just want to hold their stuff, I mean, there'll always be custodial solutions out there.
But it's a shit one. It's just like, I feel as though you can do a tweet and you can say, oh, we care about Bitcoin, blah, blah, blah. You can do all that stuff and do all your marketing. But at the end of the day, it's not like a black and white thing. Even if they said, oh, it's just too hard for someone to fucking have their own sats, which it isn't. That's just not true. Like with the right education, it's piss easy. I'm capable of doing it. So like, it's not that fucking hard. And then there's like the middle ground where why can't they team up with something like Nunchuck or have their own solution where there is a different custody model, but they're not trusting it with Fortress or whoever else? Like, I just think it's bullshit. That's what it smells like to me. I just feel like it's theatre.
Well, it's money, isn't it? Like they make their money by selling Bitcoin. They take fees. So the more often that you buy Bitcoin, the more money that they make. So they want the barrier to entry for that to be as low as physically possible. If that means that they don't force self-custody, then they're going to do it, aren't they, to increase those fees? So that's exactly why they do it. And they do don't forget, they do all that weird shit, like allow you to auto DCA every fucking 8 seconds and shit like that, which people seem to love. Which, you know, if you started withdrawing every, you know, even if it was like once a day, it's going to start costing you in on-chain fees. So having that account there, you know, removes that a little bit, but obviously increases trust significantly.
I get you, I understand, but there's so many options in between. Even if it's, oh, you can stack every fucking 8 seconds, whatever nonsense someone wants to do, you could do that, but then it pays out every week. So you have some trust to some level, but not ever more than X amount, like, you know, not ever more than $500 or something like that. Because, you know, and I'm not having like a particularly a go at Swan here, because I feel like maybe they get it harder than anyone else. And at the end of the day, there's so many different people doing a similar thing. But like, I just feel they're always saying they're doing education and they're doing this and they're there for the plebs and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, if you really care, and we know this, if you really care and you want Bitcoin to work and to make it less attackable, stop fucking holding funds for people and teach people to hold their own keys, even if it's multi-sig or there's someone else involved like Nunchuck or whatever it is. There are options, and I just think that at this stage, stop fucking around and actually do something, not just talk about it. Go and do something that makes people think they actually care and they're doing things right.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I wouldn't hold your breath because it would significantly reduce their revenue, but yeah, I agree in principle.
Next on the list. So, next on the list is SeedSigner v0.7.0. This was a large release that came out. Has been working behind the scenes for quite a long time. It's been a huge contributor base this time. There've never been so many people working on a release. It's been wonderful to just view from the outside and see this progress over the last few months. One of the big updates was reproducible builds. So that's been something that a lot of people have been shouting for quite a long time. And that's been a big breakthrough. They were working on that for quite a while, especially since in the last update, the v0.6.0, they introduced the SeedSigner OS. So this was now possible to build with that, the reproducibility. So there've been quite a few people who've done that already. So if anyone wants to try that out, there's some guides to follow along with to do that. They've also now introduced faster startup. So this was actually some help from the guys at SeedHammer, who also use the same hardware. They helped out to reduce the startup speed by close to 70%, which is pretty significant. So now it's down from about 40 seconds to 12 seconds. And yeah, also faster live camera display. So like the refresh or frame rate of the live camera view when you're scanning something is a lot faster. There was a quite like stuttery up till now, so it's much easier to like point and scan. And then lastly, this will probably only be something that's important for people like myself with Vulcan 21, that when we like sell these units, you can have like a settings QR generator. So there are like a whole bunch of different settings that you can preset on the SeedSigner. And like, for instance, camera rotation, or if you want to have like a specific QR code format, and like what address types you want to have, and all this kind of stuff. So up till now, we always had to include a sheet of paper where people had to go through and do all the presets so that it worked for specific use cases. And now you can just generate a QR code that you scan with the SeedSigner on setup, and it automatically sets up all the right settings for whatever you want to do. Because like the different cameras you can use, they have different like automated or like preset rotations. So at the moment, like all SeedSigners that we ship out, when you get them, the camera's on its head. So you have to go into the settings and then like change around. And this way you can just scan this QR code and everything set up. So like if you want to use your SeedSigner with Sparrow, for instance, and Taproot, and Sparrow could, in theory, just show a QR code, and you could scan that, and then your all SeedSigner settings would be geared towards using it with Sparrow. So you don't have to select it every time you export something for Sparrow, for instance.
Very slick.
Yeah. Next, this is also cool to see. Peach Bitcoin v0.3.0. So I want to say it was last year in Riga, right, that they announced and that they opened up, or am I missing? Yeah, it feels like ages ago. And one of the, I mean, it's been a huge success, at least from what I can gauge from the outside. But one of the knocks was always that it was still closed source. So they have now open sourced the entire code base, and I can't see exactly what license it is, but from what I can see, it's pretty much do whatever you want, and even with commercial. There we go.
Well done.
Yeah,
we love to see it.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah. I love the Peach team. Spent a bit of time with them in Riga, actually, and obviously love what they're building. Use their product regularly. In answer to what is the license, I hate to be that actually guy that's the internet troll. It technically doesn't meet the open source standard. Their license is MIT plus Commons Clause, so it meets the bare minimum of like it's source viewable. You can go, you can read the code, you can build it for yourself. Basically, you can do everything apart from make some profit off the code and sell it.
Okay.
Which for most users is absolutely fine. If you just want to be sure that Peach isn't kind of logging all of your information and everything's being done client side, which is probably one of the most important things for a peer-to-peer application like this, then this is more than enough to get that reassurance. But technically speaking, it doesn't meet the quote unquote open source standard, but it's a kind of common license option that some companies in the space use to prevent I guess, competition.
So this would be when you hear people say things like source viewable. This is what this would be. Okay. Yeah. I get what you're saying, though. It's better. It's a lot better because people can be more confident in what they're running.
For sure. Yeah, and I don't want people to misconstrue what I'm saying. Like, I'm not shitting on the Peach team. I love the product, and I will continue to use it. And this is a massive improvement, and I commend them, and I commend them for making it. Open source is something that I'm very particular about, and I just want to make sure that it's clear that, technically speaking, this is not truly open source, because you can't do absolutely anything that you want with it. But this is distinctly better than just completely closed source, which is what it was until fairly recently. So hats off, guys. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, congrats. Yeah, that is a big step.
Am I missing something? Because in the license here on GitHub, it says permission is hereby granted free of charge to any person obtaining a copy of the software and associated documentation files to deal in the software without restrictions, including without limitations, the right to use, copy, modify, merge, publish, distribute, sublicense, and or sell copies of the software, and to permit persons to whom the software is furnished to do so, subject to the following conditions.
Yeah, read the commons clause bit at the bottom.
Not really. You can't really use it. You fucks.
The license does not grant you the right to sell the software.
What? Okay. But what? Okay.
Well, however it's worded, it's still a step in the right direction. That is good to see. I had a question about Peach, actually, and you two will probably be able to answer this. So I was speaking to Crown the other day, and obviously we've got the new website up, and we're very fucking close. We've been saying it forever now, but we are very, very close to having all of our clothing ready. And we were chatting. He was like, well, do we allow fiat? Because a lot of the clothing that we're going to be doing it's not like obvious Bitcoin stuff. Like, people who aren't so into Bitcoin might also want it. Should we allow fiat? And I was like, no, we definitely can't have fiat. And he's like, I know, but a lot more people would want to buy if we could have fiat. I was like, no, we're not doing it. And he said, well, what about if we had an option where we could hold their hand and walk them through using not an exchange, but something else? And I was like, yeah, I suppose we could do something. We could think about BISC or something, but it's too difficult. And I was like, I wonder whether there'd be a way that Peach could have some sort of walkthrough or way that someone could easily, through the website, who's like, oh, fuck, I don't have Bitcoin. All I've got is this dirty fiat, but I really want this hoodie, that it could be easy for them. Like, can you think of a way that would be slicker than just like a guide and then go and do this? And people are like, oh, I've only got 5 minutes, I'm not doing that. Like, is there a way it could be built into like a web browser almost?
So just so I'm clear, the idea is that you want somebody like that doesn't have Bitcoin to do a purchase through Peach that essentially pays you for the product.
Yes. I don't want to accept fiat, and I want people to buy our stuff, and I want them to have Bitcoin and use Bitcoin, but I don't want to put them off by going, oh, go to BISC and download this. And they're like, fuck that, I haven't got time. I want it to be easy, but I don't want to integrate with some service where they're KYCing themselves. So is there this middle ground where it could be easy-ish and they can still buy our stuff and be exposed to Bitcoin?
I think I say this quite often, like, anything's possible if you throw enough time and money at it.
Got neither.
But I still think that would be enough of a hurdle for somebody to go, do you know what? I don't actually need that t-shirt or that hoodie that badly. Yeah. I'm going to jump through those hoops. Yeah. I see that the intention. I just think it's probably, even if you got the Peach guys on board and this became as slick as possible, if it doesn't happen in 2 minutes, which most trades don't, then it's just going to be too much of a barrier.
Okay. Well, if you're listening, Peach team, think about it. And message me if you come up with something clever.
What's the motivation for not taking fiat? Is it just because
there's a few?
Okay.
So number one is I don't want to dox myself.
Yeah.
As soon as you touch fiat rails, it comes with all these different complications. And I've worked really hard to get away from all of that with everything on the clothing side, including the shipping and all sorts of things. There's loads that's gone into it. So I don't want to touch fiat rails for that reason.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I could find a workaround and do something clever in fiat land so that it doesn't link to me or Crown or anything else, the site is ungovernable misfits. And then someone's coming on and buying with fiat. And I'm like, nah, I just don't want to touch it. Like I like to think of this as like, there's two worlds. There's the Bitcoin world and there's the old world. And I don't want the two touching.
Yeah, I think, I mean, that could be like quite a cool kind of feature if there were some kind of order book, like a centralized order book for people who want to buy stuff and other people that pay their like their orders and get paid in fiat. It's actually quite a cool idea. But the issue is that you usually, I mean, it's very time sensitive, right? So if like someone comes and wants to order on your site, or I presume if you have like a BTCPay server or something, the invoice will only be active for a certain amount of time, right? I mean, you can change that, but you don't want to do it for days because then you'll be subject to like volatility with price and stuff like that. So you kind of want to have it in a range of like whatever, half an hour to an hour or something, and then it has to be paid.
But like you were saying about having the order book, you know, because it wouldn't just be me who wants it. Like, I think a lot of these smaller Bitcoin businesses that are like, I don't really want to touch the fiat rails, but I do want to have exposure to the rest of the fucking 99.9% of the world who might want to buy something. If it became a slick tool, if someone like Peach was like, we're going to actually build this into the browser, and you did have an order book and you have someone saying, okay, well, I'm happy to sell some Bitcoin and get some fiat, so I'm going to put this offer up here, and, you know, as long as it doesn't fluctuate between these two prices, then it's a go. And then anyone who goes on there, you should have then like a deep order book of people who are looking to sell, rather than them having to download the app and then put their offer on there. I want specifically this. The offer's made by what product they're buying, and then it will just automatically match. Oh, okay, someone's spending $100 on this thing, right? There's someone else who wants in the range, and they'll do any trade between $50 to $500. Right, done, bang, zip it across the money. Like, I know, like, I'm simplifying it. I'm sure there's much more that goes into it, but I just feel it would be a cool tool. And Peach, you should probably build it and then like test it on Ungovernable Misfits first, and then just like buy me a drink for coming up with the idea.
Yeah, I mean, I think one caveat would definitely be that it's because I was also thinking as like a company, you could do that as a service, but then I think from the regulatory perspective, it is pretty dodgy because you're not, if I were doing this even privately for someone else, you are providing a service, right? Because they're paying you and you're passing on the money to someone else. So you could get into like money laundering territory pretty quickly from a regulatory perspective. I mean, that's the great thing with all of these like peer-to-peer exchanges that like Peach, that you don't have that issue, right? Because you're just exchanging backwards and forwards between two parties, and there's no like middleman who's doing like creating a service.
I get you.
I think I might have a kind of workaround for you that lowers the barrier to entry a little bit. I'm pretty sure the Bitcoin company, the gift card company, allows you to top up your account there with fiat.
Okay.
And you guys could just have gift cards on there so that they could go on, put $50 in, and then buy a Ungovernable Misfits gift voucher and then just use that as a code on your store.
You see, Antomous, he's not a useless bastard. He does know what he's talking about.
That is actually pretty sweet.
That is sweet. Yeah, that's a really good idea. And I think that could be used by a lot of different people. Right, the Bitcoin company, we need to speak. I'm happy to trial this and be the first to fuck around with it.
Do they have like direct integration, like that you can just like whatever, like a WordPress plugin or something that you can put into your checkout and it automatically redirects to them? You can pay them basically and it automatically integrates.
I don't think they do, but they could.
Yeah, I mean, they have a very slick app. And so you've now lowered the barrier to entry if you went down this route to basically just setting up a Bitcoin company account and then just topping it up.
There we are.
So not perfect,
Brilliant.
but it should hopefully get you some way towards what you want to do.
Oh, I like that. That's good. That's much better than my idea.
And that'd be significantly easier to communicate to your customers. You know, you could have a simple guide or a video showing exactly how to set up an account with them and send some fiat across.
Love it.
While we're on that topic, we might as well jump a few steps in our list to tell you how great the Bitcoin company is in general.
Smooth.
They've now added, I think they announced this a while back already that they'll be doing this, but now the Auth 47 is now live. So this is like a login via Paynyms. So you won't need like a username and password, but you can log in using your Paynym, like with a Samourai wallet or something like that. And this is definitely a cool application of using this.
That's really fucking good to see.
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, no username, no password. Just sign in with a scan of a QR code. Like, pretty. Like, it doesn't get any better than that, does it? No personal information. Yeah, just kudos to getting these guys getting this over the line. Very great to see, and even more validation for BIP47. Love it.
The one question I had: is that the only information you need to give them to get to sign up and to use their service, or do you still have to give them like additional information in the account so that you can actually get those cards?
I think you'd have to if you used fiat, though, wouldn't you?
Yes.
If you're
just about to
buying
come on
gift
to that.
cards with Bitcoin, then I believe it's just that. There's no personal
Correct.
information. But again, as soon as you touch this fiat world, you have to give all your KYC information.
I get it. Okay. And probably someone said that if you get like those prepaid credit cards, you can put any name on there you want. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you could sign into the Bitcoin company with your Paynym QR code scan. Then you could deposit up to $1,000 worth of Bitcoin, purchase a Visa, like a virtual Visa card, load up to $1,000 worth of Bitcoin onto that, and then go and spend that pretty much universally at online retailers. Although I know it does become a bit more kind of spotty as to where they're accepted at in-person stores. So if you're spending online, I don't think you're going to have much of an issue here. And a great way to, number one, avoid having to go through, selling Bitcoin at a regulated exchange, and number two, to have to go and set up a trade on Peach or BISC, etc. Like, you literally just send the Bitcoin company some sats and have a virtual Visa card that you can just go and plug into a traditional shop online storefront.
That's fucking cool. Do they work in the UK? Like, if you got one of these Visa cards, presumably it doesn't, because nothing fucking works here.
So again, online, pretty wide coverage. I think it does become a bit more difficult in person. I believe I'd have to speak to some of my confidential contacts that use this more frequently than I do. I believe the kind of workaround is that you can add these cards to your Apple or Google Pay, and that somehow makes them work at more places. Presumably because there's inbuilt protections there by Google and Apple, surprisingly, that kind of almost mask the origin of this. So I believe that at least used to make them work in more places, but I should be able to ask a few contacts as to whether that's still the case or not.
Yeah, I tried doing that at some point. I had issues with like the name and I had to enter an address and a name and stuff, and that was like verified. So it worked with a card that I bought under my like real name and address, because it's like connected with your Google account. So I haven't tried it with Apple Pay, but with Google Pay I tried, and that didn't let me enter a different like made up name and address. So it had to be like the same as my Google account.
There's definitely a lot of kind of catch-22s here. It's not like a panacea that works everywhere, unfortunately, and ultimately you're probably not going to know until you go and try it and it doesn't work at a specific store. So what I would say is, find somebody in your local area that's used this before and get some advice from them. One thing I will say though is, like, if you go on the Bitcoin company website, like, there are hundreds of specific vouchers for specific stores. There's a very high likelihood that if this Visa card doesn't work, that the store that you want to spend at anyway probably has their own voucher that you can just buy. Obviously, I know that's a little bit more friction, that you're going to have voucher codes for individual stores, but if it's somewhere that you shop at regularly, then it's not really that much of a hardship, is it? Especially if you're hell-bent on wanting to spend some Bitcoin instead of fiat.
Yeah, there's loads of options. The only reason I feel the Visa cards would be particularly useful, and I don't know if this is possible, is whether you could make payments to other people or companies. For example, if you've got to pay your rent, there's not like a rent gift card. So you need to somehow send fiat to your landlord or pay your mortgage, or you got whatever it is, like there's some stuff where there's like a gap there and you can't pay in cash. So it's like, well, what's the best option? And so is this something that can fill that role? Because otherwise, especially if people are earning Bitcoin and they're like, okay, I've got to pay for these things, like they can't send cash, they can't do it with a gift card. So then they're like, oh, okay, well then the only option is sell and get someone to pay into my account, which could flag things. Is it possible to do this and have a separate card that you then pay your landlord?
I don't think so. I know in the US only, they were looking at, it may actually be live now, I don't know, at physical cards. That presumably would give you a bit more flexibility. But again, you kind of, in your like paying the rent thing, like you don't have a physical account or an app that you can go into to say, right, send this much to this account number. Like it doesn't work like that. It's just a virtual card. So I'm going to say probably not.
Okay.
That's an unfixed solution.
Next on the list, we've got Sparrow Wallet v1.7.9. They added wallet accounts summary. So especially for like wallets, if you have like a Samourai Whirlpool running with like different accounts in there, like a deposit, premix, postmix, and bad bank, they'll now you can see like a summary of all the funds in these different accounts. So it's just got a bit more transparency there. And also if you just create different accounts for yourself in your own wallet with different derivation paths, you can also see the entire summary on one click. And the other change they made, which was wonderful because I've had that issue multiple times, if you want to change your labels at some point, then you have to look for every related transaction for this one transaction you want to change the label for and change all the labels manually. So just as an example, if you're sending a transaction and you've got two outputs, you've got the one spend output and you've got the change, then these will show up in different lists on different pages in the or different tabs in the Sparrow wallet. So you'll have to go into each one and change the labels there manually. And now this will propagate throughout the entire software. So everywhere where this, like the transaction or any part of that transaction is referenced, it will automatically change. So this is a huge time saver.
This is the first time I've learned about the account summary. I haven't actually poked around in Sparrow for a good couple of weeks. It's been busy with other stuff. So where is the account summary? Where do you see it?
I have not updated yet, so I've only seen their announcement. 1 second, I'll just have a look here.
Very slick though.
No, I can't see anything here in the release notes exactly where you pull that up. It's like a screenshot, but it doesn't show exactly where you access that.
Oh, view, show wallet summary.
Okay.
Oh, graphs and everything. Very nice. Okay, very slick. Nice work, Mr. Raw, once again.
We've now also got, from software updates, we've got Samourai V 0.99.98H. God. When are they doing this jump, man? This is painful.
It's a version
each
1.
time. Yeah.
I reckon somewhere around like 2140. Lots of numbers and letters to go yet.
Yeah, but I have not looked into that myself, so I don't know, Q, if you can fill us in there.
Yeah. What's new? So there's improved JoinBot UX. So JoinBot is their kind of inbuilt service that allows you to do privacy-preserving Stonewall X2 collaborative transactions when you're sending to a third party. So if you are like Max and you don't have any friends, you can use JoinBot to...
Painful.
I felt instantly bad about that, Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, if you're like Max and you don't have any friends, you can use JoinBot as a collaborator with your spend. which will use some of Samourai's UTXOs, as well as some of yours, so that you can create a ambiguous spend to an unsuspecting third party. Obviously, there's a fee involved with that, but I believe it's fairly minimal. So if you don't have any friends online and you're in a pinch and you need to make a spend that you want to be a Stonewall X2, just enable a join bot toggle and you can do one anyway. Outside of that, they've just got some quality of life improvements. So verify message feature, UTXO management improvements, and they now allow you to sweep join market time-locked fidelity bonds. Quote, we have decided to implement the ability for join market users who find themselves with Bitcoin in a time-locked fidelity bond address to sweep their private key into Samourai wallet after the bond expires. Nice. And then outside of that, just some bug fixes as well. So good to see. I haven't actually upgraded to this one, which I'm almost embarrassed to admit. So added that to my to-do list today.
And then we've also got Samourai Dojo v1.2 1.0, $1 fee estimator. So this is a new fee estimation that relies on a bunch of different inputs there. I mean, most people know these fee estimators like from mempool.space and so on. So I don't know if they're doing anything real special about that, but this is their own implementation.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to some Twitter autist doing an analysis of the accuracy of this one compared to mempool.space and any of the others. It would be very interesting to see once this has been out there for some period of time. But good to see that the estimations are, they've worked on an algorithm here to make that more accurate, because I think, happy to be corrected here, but I'm pretty sure the old Dojo fee estimation was using Bitcoin Core on a rolling something like 72-hour basis, which in periods of high fee, what's the word I'm looking for, where it goes up and down quite a lot, that could become quite inaccurate fairly quickly. So good to see that they've gone with what looks like a very technical approach to fixing this. So yeah, shout out Team Dojo.
So I think that was it for the software updates. I know we've also got RoninUI is now a pairing page. What's that all about?
Yeah, so V2.3.0 of Ronin Dojo UI allows a simple pairing of, basically you get an option to say, do you want to pair with your Dojo, which is specific to Samourai wallet, or do you want to pair to your Electrum server, which obviously is for pretty much any other wallet that allows you to connect to your own node. So yeah, just a streamlined way that you can kind of go to ronindojo.local and to just scan a QR code to connect your Samourai, well, literally any wallet. As long as it speaks to Dojo or it speaks to Electrum server, then you can just scan a QR code and connect to it. I'm pretty sure I read in the notes that they also now allow local connections to Electrum server. Yes, display local network pairing values for Fulcrum. So if you're a wallet user that uses an Electrum server backend, previously Ronin Dojo only allowed you to connect to that over Tor, which brings with it obviously all of its problems in terms of latency and denial of service attacks, etc. So if you were somebody that interacted with your Bitcoin wallets predominantly at home and wanted to connect locally just within your own home network, you weren't able to do that with Ronin Dojo, and this update fixes that. So you can just now connect to 192.168.7.7. So shout out.
That's nice. All right. We've also got a few announcements here from Robosats that they will be publishing in their new release, upcoming release, a federated model for their clients. So this is like in an attempt to decentralize the entire process, because at the moment, there's the one coordinator in the middle, and this will allow anyone to become a coordinator for a whole bunch of Robosats trades. So this will be on a reputation basis, so that if you want to participate, I think the way I understood it, you have to sign up with a pull request on GitHub if you want to participate, so that you are then also listed in the upcoming release as a coordinator, and then there'll be some kind of reputation system so that people can kind of pick and choose who they want to have as a coordinator.
Very cool. Yeah, I love this. Yeah, this is the problem with kind of centralized peer-to-peer markets. I know that's kind of a bit of a with centralized peer-to-peer. But yeah, obviously currently there's a centralized coordinator within Robosats, which is somewhat of a big target. I mean, or could become a big target in the future. And you take down that single coordinator and Robosat ceases to work. So obviously the guys behind this have recognized that and have put steps in place to kind of allow anybody else to become a coordinator so that it becomes a game of whack-a-mole thereafter. You know, if you take one down, there's hopefully going to be some others to continue that work in it. My main worry is that this could, well, any new coordinator that come on are going to, number one, struggle to gain reputation. And number two, they're going to struggle to gain liquidity as well. So going to be interesting to see how this one pans out. But yeah, definitely a step in the right direction. I just not sure how many ready and willing coordinators are going to come online, at least in the first instance. But I guess when there's sats to be made, people will get drawn to this.
What I'm not quite sure about is there still one order book, or will there be one order book for each coordinator?
No, I think there is a singular order book, and then you would be able to just go in and add the different coordinators. Presumably, you'll be able to filter out offers from all or specific coordinators, but they should all be within a specific order book, is my understanding.
Cool. Okay.
Which would be the absolute best way to approach this.
Absolutely. Because then, like, liquidity from like a usability standpoint isn't that critical, right? Because even if you've got low liquidity, you'll still pop up in someone else's order book if they've got yours selected. The only issue is obviously with like your anonymity set for the coordinator. I haven't dug that deep into it, like how much information the coordinator gets anyway, but could imagine that there's some kind of issue there with low liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, this is more for peer-to-peer buying, isn't it? I mean, anonymity sets are kind of not that relevant here, but yeah, I get what you're saying. But I think, yeah, like if you're a single buyer from a single order on a new coordinator, then maybe there's some information that you can gain. But like the Robosats is structured in such a way that as long as there is, it's a happy path for the trade and there's no dispute, then the coordinator shouldn't learn anything. Everything's encrypted and done over Tor.
Cool. We've also got Zaplocker, a non-custodial Lightning address server. So I haven't looked into this one exactly, but what's this about?
This is by a fairly prolific dev called SuperTestNet. Zaplocker is free and open source software. You can run it yourself and you can provide a service with a Lightning for a Lightning address without taking custody of user funds. So Lightning address is a really cool Lightning feature where you can, instead of having to, if I want to pay Max, I have to DM him on Telegram to say, hey, I want to pay you back for those beers. Can you send me a Lightning invoice for 25,000 sats? Obviously, that's horrible UX and is never going to go mainstream. With Lightning address, as long as I know what Max's Lightning address is and his node is online, I can just go into my compatible wallet and say, pay to Max at ungovernablemisfits.com. And then in the background, our nodes would talk to each other, generate an invoice for however much I specified. Max doesn't need to do anything. It's all his node does it all for him. But to get a Lightning address, you need like an online web server, which most people don't have and probably never will have. So the main solution, there's two solutions to that. Number one, you run your own if you're technically minded enough, or you ask somebody else to do it for you and hope that they don't rug pull your funds like most of the people on Nostr do, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. So this Zaplocker does the Lightning address for you. So they have the web server, but they use HODL contracts, which is kind of like a temporarily postponed Lightning invoice that kind of temporarily holds funds that are in a HTLC, hash time lock contract, so that the Zaplocker custodian, they're holding the HTLC, but like the way that these are built is like they can't do anything with it. They basically just hold that and then they wait for you to come back online and go, hey, by the way, somebody's trying to pay you here. Do you want to receive it? Yes or no? So it does it in such a way where there's still a little bit of trust, because if the Zaplocker server is down, then you ain't receiving any sats via Lightning address, but they can't steal your shit.
But they don't like pre-broadcast or anything. So it's like they could deny broadcasting that, right? So they could hold your funds, but they can't actually spend them.
Correct. Yeah. Still a denial of service risk, but there's no theft risk.
Oh yeah, this was also a big announcement that came in Riga. Unfortunately, I was not there on Monday anymore, the BTCPay server day, but they announced a new BTCPay server app, and this will be in cooperation with Spiral and LDK. And so this will be a solution for small business owners, for people with some kind of point of sale need, and this will eliminate the requirement to have a server running the whole time. So this is a fully functional Lightning node on mobile. So I haven't seen too many details on exactly how it'll be working, but at the end of the day, the idea is that you can just download this app, set it up, and receive Bitcoin and Lightning payments directly on mobile without the need of running a server.
Yeah, super cool. I mean, there's very low on details. They just announced the intention to do this. I don't even think they've started work on it yet. So this could potentially be like a couple of years out yet. So let's not get too excited. But the kind of summary of this is, if you imagine that Phoenix on your phone and BTCPay server on your server came together and had a baby, this is what it would look like. So it would literally, the way it would look like for a new merchant is you download the BTCPay app and you can configure your storefront. You can type in, I'm a hairdresser and these are my prices. It would put that in the way that BTCPay already does, with you could have individual items with individual prices, with stock levels, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. And then it just talks to an LSP, Lightning Service Provider, in the background, which they haven't said who that's going to be. Maybe you'll be able to configure it, who knows? And then they'll manage all of the horrible Lightning stuff for you, presumably for a small fee. And then all of the on-chain stuff, once again, you'll just be able to plug an XPub in there so that all of your on-chain fees just go straight to your hardware wallet or wherever you predefine that. So if they pull this off, like, this could be pretty big. Hello?
Oh, I was muted there.
Me and Antomous just fucked off.
Thanks for that, guys.
Sorry about that.
I was in the other room stroking my dog. I can still hear you because I have my headphones on.
Yeah.
He's been left alone a lot recently, so he needed a little bit of love.
No, I was already getting back to you on that, but muted. Right. Yeah. No, but especially for people like on the move, people who don't have either the technical capabilities to set up a BTCPay server somewhere on a VPS or something, but want to be able to privately receive Lightning payments. This is a huge step. So yeah, well, hopefully we'll see it in not too far of a distance, but let's wait and see. Yeah, we've also got Tor introducing proof of work for their traffic. This is like an attempt to reduce the risk of denial of service attacks. So Tor's been rough over the past couple of years, and probably before that as well, of just having major issues with DOS attacks. So this could potentially alleviate that to some degree. I have not looked into the exact technical implementation. I don't know how much information is out there yet, but this would prioritize verified network traffic. That's the way they describe it.
So basically, it's like brings some cost to an attacker is the idea.
That grows exponentially as they continue to try and do it.
When you say it grows exponentially when they continue to try and do it, you mean like if someone's just like pinging the same service just over and over again to slow things down. If I was using Tor on my laptop and I started just like fucking around, refreshing and like doing a million things on a website, what it would do is my CPU or whatever would have to work harder, and that would cost me electricity.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty clever.
Yeah, we should do that with money, shouldn't we?
Yeah, that'd be a really good idea.
Yeah, so there's a quote here. Tor's proof of work defense is a dynamic and reactive mechanism remaining dormant under normal use conditions to ensure a seamless user experience. But when an onion service is under stress, the mechanism will prompt incoming client connections to perform a number of successively more complex operations. The onion service will then prioritize these connections based on the effort level demonstrated by the client. So it's like, yeah, I'm not going to listen to you unless you show me that you've done this. And then if the attacker says, yeah, okay, here you go, and then you try and do that again, then the Onion service will say, yeah, okay, right, now I'm going to make it 10 times more complicated. See you in a minute, come back. And it just takes longer and longer and longer to do each ping.
That's clever. Is there any drawback to this? Or like, because it seems, I'm not going to say it seems obvious, but like, it seems obvious that this should have been done a while ago if there's no drawback.
Yeah, obviously I've got no idea how technically difficult this is to implement. I'm guessing very.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm trying to think of the implications so let's say Ungovernable Misfits has an Onion site and it's getting denial of service attacked under this new landscape. Presumably the main impact will be obviously the cost to the attacker that's trying to denial of service you, but me as a genuine user, presumably the fallback would be it would just take me longer to connect to you because my laptop would have to do the same level of CPU computations. So for me as a normal user, I would just see longer connection times. But the crucial bit is that it wouldn't just grind to a halt, presumably.
Longer connection times is better than no connection.
Yeah, exactly.
And presumably if you're an attacker and there's practically zero cost, you're going to just keep doing it. But if you're an attacker and as you attack, it gets more costly, your incentive to do it, especially for like Ungovernable Misfits, because no one gives a fuck. Like maybe if it's like a site they really want to attack, then maybe they'll wear that cost. But for a lot of other sites, they'll be like, oh, it's just not worth it. And then the time drops for normal users as well.
Yep. Yeah. Good to see.
Well done, Tor. Very smart.
Next on the list is the whole, I mean, we've got two different topics here coming up to do with different lawsuits that are currently underway. So one of them is the Tornado Cash indictments. Q, can you fill us in there?
Yeah, so this has been ongoing for quite some time and we've covered it multiple times, but I just kind of, I guess, wanted to have a moan about like these indictments of these guys. So an indictment is like an accusation, basically. Anybody can make an accusation. So the new Tornado Cash indictments, they run completely counter to the FinCEN guidance. So Coin Center have covered this. Basically, these guys have been indicted for lots of different accusations that run completely counter to the existing FinCEN regulations. So the Tornado Cash is like a CoinJoin protocol, non-custodial, crucially, CoinJoin protocol for Ethereum. And currently the guidance for FinCEN is an anonymizing software provider is not a money transmitter. But these accusations are making out that these guys or this software was acting as such, which is forming, I think, the basis for these indictments. Some quotes here. The indictment provides various factual allegations describing the activities the defendants performed, but all of those facts point to the defendants fitting squarely within FinCEN's guidance on anonymizing software providers rather than them being money transmitters. So the people behind these indictments are throwing a lot of shit at the wall that run completely counter to all of the rules and regulations that anybody that's been operating such a thing have been abiding by. My guess and the commonly shared thought process here is that most people are thinking that these guys are trying to set a law precedent here to kind of change what is and what isn't classified as a money transmitter. So if you're interested in broadly, air quotes, crypto privacy, because this is an Ethereum thing, but the ramifications of the rulings here will be felt across the whole of the crypto industry, Bitcoin included. So the fact that this is completely non-custodial and that the guys that have been indicted with this had very little control, if not no control, once they kind of set this smart contract going is very worrisome. And yeah, it's going to be not going to be interesting. It's going to be a kind of an interesting one to see how it unfolds because the ramifications are going to be felt industry-wide.
Yeah, like you say, it's setting a precedent and it doesn't really make any sense. But as we know, things don't actually have to make sense or be reasonable in any way, because if you write the laws, you make the decisions, you can do what the fuck you want. So it is worrying.
Yeah, like in the same kind of vein here, we've also got the whole lawsuit around Bitcoin Fog. This was not a CoinJoin service, but an actual mixer. And There's Sterlingoff is his name. He's being accused of having run this mixer, and he's currently the trial is ongoing. And Chain Analysis is the one who's basically providing the quote unquote evidence of his involvement with this mixing service. And the issue here is obviously that the way that Chain Analysis does this analysis is not open knowledge. So there's been now from the defense, they have offered a Bitcoin Core contributor to do an audit of the Chain Analysis code, and they have been fighting against this. So this would be Brian Bishop, and they are now trying to get him disqualified because he does not have a computer science degree. And may have some kind of conflict of interest.
Amazing.
Yeah. This is completely ridiculous to me. The law pretty much worldwide, right? If you're trying to get somebody convicted of something, you have to prove it. You have to show evidence. The fact that these vermin Chain Analysis are allowed to present their quote unquote evidence, but not share how they got to their assumption is absolutely ridiculous. The fact that this hasn't been thrown out of court immediately is very, very worrisome because, once again, if this guy gets convicted, it adds weight to the fact that Chain Analysis are legitimate and that the tools that they're using stand up in law. But the fact that nobody's able to verify this is ridiculous. It's like me saying Max is a murderer and that I saw him do it. I filmed it on my phone, but you're not allowed to see the video. Fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it is sickening. And also, even what they potentially have that you can't see is only assumptions anyway. It's it's all so fucking airy-fairy, like you say, not evidence. They're treating it like guilty until proven innocent, but you can't be proven innocent and we can't show any of the evidence. It's basically just a fucking witch hunt.
Yep. Yeah, it literally is. And if you want to learn how to fuck with these guys and that the assumptions that we think that they use, check out my talk from Riga, because that's exactly what I talked about.
Ooh. There we go.
Can I post it on this show when it goes live?
If the audio is out, yeah. I'm just waiting on the Hodl Hodl guys to publish it. So as and when it's available, I'll send it over.
And it's important people think about, with everything that's going on and these type of attacks, to get your shit straight now and use the tools that are available now. If you actually care about your privacy and you actually care about being able to use Bitcoin in the future and use it in the free, proper way, and I'm sure your talk goes into that, not shit yourself because this sort of stuff is happening, more use it to spur yourself on and be like, no, fuck this can't happen, we can't let them do this. And then you've got two options from there. You can go and use something like Samourai and do things properly and fight against them, or you can go and use other options out there and actually fund them. You can make the decision.
Nice.
Do you like that little dig?
I love it.
Subtle.
Yes.
Fuck you, Wasabi. Stop funding these cunts. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't think of a better way to end.
Yeah. Also, shout out to, in this case, Lola, who's been doing the reporting on this case. So she's written a few articles on this. There's a whole backstory to that as well, but we don't have to go into all of that.
If you remember, you can send me if there's any links and I'll put them in the show notes so people can read through.
There we go. So the last point on the list we have today is OpenSats has made a bunch of grants to Bitcoin Core developers, which is fucking amazing. So there's the first in July that went to Marco Falker, and then in August to Josie Baker, and now in September they've now announced that they'll be supporting Sjors Provost, if I pronounce that correctly.
That's very good.
Where he's, for those who don't know, he also does the podcast Bitcoin Explained, I think that's one. And he's also written a book that is called Bitcoin: A Work in Progress, I think. hope I didn't mess that up. Yeah, but he's been a contributor for a number of years and is doing good work. I read somewhere that he has close to 1,000 reviews on GitHub for different pull requests and issues. So this guy's definitely putting out the work. So yeah, shout out to OpenSats for doing that.
Sweet, good job, guys.
Yeah, thank you very much. That was a good one. I'll catch you on the next month. I still don't know ever what one we're on. Are we on 28 or are we on 29?
I've only just clocked the URL for this recording, actually. It's Bitcoin-monthly-28-I-think.
I never fucking know.
I also have no idea. Let's just call it September 23, eh?
Yeah, oh yeah, good idea. All right, cool. Well, yeah, thank you, and we will catch up. We need to catch up in person soon because I never get to go to these meetups and all the cool places you guys go. So maybe a local beer would be good.
Sounds good to me.
Hell yes.
Antomous, are you going to Amsterdam?
Well, it's still up in the air. We're still waiting on confirmation if we can go there with Seed Hammer. So if so, then we will. If not, then I won't. But it'll probably be a last minute decision.
Cool. I'll get us booked into a pool hall.
Ooh, you can be there. Nice.
Yeah, Foundation have got a booth. So if anybody listening is attending Amsterdam, come and say hello.
Hell yeah.